An off-road GMC Acadia? That's right, what we're looking at here is the new 2024 GMC Acadia AT4. GMC is calling this the most capable Acadia ever. Now, of course, the current one does have some off-road prowess, not discounting that, but for 2024, GMC has redone the Acadia. They've added a bunch of really interesting features. They've changed the powertrain. They've changed the design inside and outside. And in this video, we're telling you everything you need to know about the new GMC Acadia AT4. This is going to be a really exciting video. Now let's talk about this vehicle. What are some of the fundamental differences between the new Acadia and the outgoing one? Well, size is a big deal. So if we come around to the back, Zach, this vehicle is 10.6 inches longer than the outgoing one, and over 8 inches of that is in the wheelbase alone. So the vehicle is significantly stretched. It's also taller and it's also wider. So this is certainly now a much more usable family vehicle, and you know that based on some preliminary cargo numbers. They said that the amount of cargo space behind the third row has grown by 80%. And certainly just looking at it visually, you can really see that if I had this vehicle full of kids and strollers and dogs, right, you'd have a lot more space to put stuff behind the third row. And then this model does not have the power fold, but you can fold down the third row and you get more space than the old one as well. I got it, Zach, you're good. Thanks for trying there. Now, of course, we would have to scoot that seat forward to get the full fold, but these do fold back. But I just wanted to start with that number because that is a big deal, right? People are buying these cars for the amount of stuff they can carry, and you can carry more now in the new GMC Acadia. But anyway, let's go around to the front and talk about some of the engine changes. The old Acadia was powered by a 3.6 liter V6, and that was made into a 9-speed automatic transmission, while the new 2024 Acadia is powered by 4 cylinders, but they're turbocharged 4 cylinders. So we're looking at 328 horsepower, 326 pound-feet of torque out of a 2.5 liter. Transversely mounted, made it to an 8-speed. I asked why. They said they were able to get more fuel economy. They didn't need that 9th speed after all in the outgoing transmission, but that transmission pairs better, they said, with the turbo engine. This 2.5 liter is related to the architecture they use for the Sierra 2.7 turbo, right, in their full-size trucks. More horsepower too than the new Traverse that they just announced, which is right around 315. So it's more powerful than the Chevy. It's got fewer cylinders than the old GMC, but more powerful than the old GMC as well, even with the Turbo 4. This is a new trend, guys, right? We've seen the new Turbo 4 go into vehicles like the Highlander, so I think we're going to expect to see a lot more of that going down the road. Now let's talk about the AT4. This vehicle has a 1-inch suspension lift. It's got specially tuned suspension for off-road capability, and the front end is pretty different than any other Acadia, and I'm really impressed with this right here. This is a 3-row crossover with genuine integrated tow hooks, and they're painted red, which you know means they work. That's the only reason you would paint a tow hook red, is because it works. But if you compare that to like this Denali trim, which we have a video over at the altfl.com if you want to check that out, no tow hooks on the front of that fascia, right? So they're actually thinking about that from an off-road standpoint. And then, Zach, if you want to point the camera way underneath there, we also have a metal skid plate. So it's got a metal bash plate in the front to at least provide a little bit of protection for those who want to go out taking their 3-row Acadia into some terrain that maybe you would be a little hesitant to take, like a Highlander or maybe an Explorer into, but this does compete with the new Explorer Timberline, so that is important to know as well. Now, other design elements which make the AT4 stand out from the rest, the fender flares, right? So this vehicle does have pretty significant fender flares with these integrated orange running lights, similar to the GMC like 25 and 3500 trucks. Makes the vehicle look tough. This vehicle is overall wider than a standard Acadia as well. And then the wheel and tire package. This is a pretty aggressive tire for a crossover. The Goodyear Wrangler Territory AT tire. So an all-terrain tire wrapped around an 18-inch wheel. Nice chunky sidewall with a small wheel, which makes this vehicle more suited to off-roading than a typical crossover would, right? AT4 badging along the lower portion of the door. I think that looks really good. We've got the gloss black side mirrors as well. And then as we make our way toward the rear here, no chrome. So they've blacked out all the chrome around the window trims, right? The roof rails here, no chrome there, just a shiny black finish. Shiny black D-pillar. And then as we make our way to the very rear, a couple of interesting things worth noting. AT4 badging on the bottom right. Full LED taillights, full LED headlights, no halogen bulbs at all on the exterior of the Acadia. And then the square exhaust tips are designed after those that you'd find in the C8 Corvette. And what's cool is you actually notice they're functional. So they're both functional. As my buddy Alex Dykes would say, one exhaust port per cylinder. This thing is ready to hit the track. But Zach, let's take a look at the interior. Now this is going to be kind of a darker interior, which is not going to show up quite as well on camera, but some really interesting things going on here, starting with this screen. So this is a 15-inch portrait style screen, very different than what we saw in the new Traverse, which was mounted higher. And this is now marking a new transition for GMC in terms of interior design language and in terms of technology. It still has Apple CarPlay. It still has Android Auto, so I know GM has announced they're moving away from those systems. But this is a Google-based system, which is great. Integrates stuff like Google-based maps, which are the best traffic maps and traffic data in the world, if you ask me. And it's great. I mean, it seems, initial impression, really fast, easy to use, very responsive, and I love the design. And you have this integrated knob that's built into the screen, similar to what Ford has done in the Mach-E, and that is always your volume knob. You can see the screen poking through in the center there, but I don't think that actually does anything. And then the bottom panel is always climate control, and you got toggles, baby. Aircraft style toggles for temperature, for heated seats, right? You can, well, actually that's a button on the screen, but everything else is toggle for the climate control, which is good. And then check this out. They've moved the shifter up to the column. Park, reverse, neutral, drive now, right? All column mounted, and what that has done is it's freed up space in the center for the wireless phone charger, USB A and C ports, dual cup holders, and a really good size center bin there, which is great. Now beyond that, we do have an 11-inch cluster screen, which is going to be configurable. Tells you a lot of important information. Now this is a pre-production, so ignore some of the warning.
It's in demo mode at the moment.
Yeah, it's in demo mode, and production hasn't started yet, so some of this stuff is not up to full snuff. But other cool thing about the Acadia is it is now available with the Super Cruise system, the hands-free driving assistant. So for example, you're driving on the highway over 400,000 miles of pre-mapped roads, and you can do that without buying the top trim Denali. Even the AT4 will be available with that, which I think is really cool. But of course, people buy these vehicles for space in the second and third row. The base elevation can be had as an 8-seat vehicle, but this one, the AT4, and then the top trim Denali, 7-seater only with the captain's chairs. Nice, big, comfy, squishy. Look at the padding in that. Look how thick that chair is. That right there is a dense chair, but good captain's chairs. They do slide forward and backwards, and then you can also recline them. So if your kids are feeling a little bougie, they can get extra comfy in the back of the Acadia. And then let's go ahead and check out the third row, because that is a big deal in this class. I'm going to push a button, and watch this. If I had a child seat, oh, this one does not have the electric fold, Zach. Interesting. Well, interesting. I have 15 minutes to this video, so I would love to get more in depth with that, but we'll do that when we get it back in Colorado. But we'll fold the seat up for now, see how the space is. Yeah, pretty good legroom. My knees are touching a bit. Of course, this person could scoot the seat forward if they were kind. But look at the headroom, even at 6 feet tall. Lots of headroom back here. Cup holders, USB-C port, 3 abreast seating. This middle seat would be a little bit tight if you were a full-fledged adult, but for kids, that's awesome. And you have integrated air vents up there for the third passengers as well. So really impressive space relative to this class, I would say, at least on initial inspection. And then GMC also says best in class, first row legroom. But overall, guys, I think that they've done a lot of nice additions to this model, right? I'm excited to try the off-road prowess. We also have a twin clutch torque vectoring rear diff, or at least torque distributing rear diff, which we'll have to try. We'll try the skid plate, the recovery points off-road in Colorado. And then competitors of this vehicle we've talked about a little bit. We don't know pricing, availability, Q1 of 2024. I think it's going to be pretty pricey, but we'll have to wait and see. As always, it's been Tommy behind the camera, Zach. We'll see you on another episode over at alltfl.com.